2 is better than 1. For example, the Roborock S8 Plus now features a second roller brush, allowing the vacuum to collect even more debris. Let's find out what the Roborock S8 with the self-cleaning station is really capable of and whether the second roller truly boosts cleaning efficiency. Now let's take a look at what's inside. Here's a quick overview on the screen, but if we go into more detail, the package includes the robot vacuum itself, a ramp for the self-cleaning station, the main station unit, a power cord, a spare dust bag, and a mop with a pre-installed cloth. A branded envelope with a quick start guide, assembly instructions, and a full user manual is also included. As always, only the essentials needed for the vacuum to operate right out of the box. The spare dust bag is a nice touch, but I doubt the Roborock S9 will have one. The specifications for the S8 Plus are now displayed on the screen. The most interesting part here is the 6,000 Pascal suction power. Is the vacuum really that powerful? And what about the new navigation system based on structured light technology? Will it outperform the RGB camera of the Roborock S7 Max V, which was flawless even in complete darkness? We'll definitely answer these questions, but first let's get to know the robot a bit better. Visually, the Roborock S8 continues the legacy of its predecessors. It has a round body, a lidar sensor positioned at the front, a dustbin under the lid, and a water tank at the back. The front panel is matte, resistant to dust and fingerprints. The lidar sensor is clickable, making it less risky when vacuuming under furniture, especially since the height of the body is less than 4 inches. There are 3 familiar control buttons: Start, Home, and Spot Clean. There's also a small button for child lock. When pressed, an indicator lights up. Not too bright, but visible enough, and the vacuum announces, Starting Cleaning. The bumper on the S8 looks more solid than the one on the S7 Max V, with no extra terminals on the sides. Linear lasers are hidden in slits. The base-finding sensor is located behind a tinted glass panel at the bottom. The complex camera system is not visible, only a mysterious black window. It's supposed to house a projector that projects parallel light stripes onto objects ahead, and a depth camera that reads those stripes and determines the object's shape. On the side, there's a TOF sensor that measures the distance to the wall. Behind it, there's a decorative grille, and on the opposite side, exhaust vents. The dustbin is designed as a box with a flip-up lid. Underneath, there's a HEPA filter. There's no mesh filter, as it would wear out the HEPA filter faster, causing you to replace consumables more often. The absence of the mesh filter also improves motor efficiency, and the HEPA filter is better cleaned during the self-emptying process. There's also a side flap for air intake during self-cleaning. It's worth noting that the dustbin capacity is relatively small, just 12 ounces. For a vacuum with a self-emptying station, that's typical. The standard S8 has a slightly larger container, about 14 ounces. Keep this in mind when choosing. On the panel next to the dustbin, there's a Wi-Fi indicator and a reset button. On the opposite side, there's a QR code for the dedicated app. The little bird icon, as usual, is squeezed in. I guess you already know why. The water tank is standard without a pump. It's built into the robot. A tube, a cap, translucent plastic, everything as usual. But we're not here to look at boring containers. We're here to find out what's new underneath. The first and main thing is the working unit. Right now, as you're comfortably sitting in your chair looking at these 2 rollers on the other side of the globe, iRobot's lawyers are probably scratching their heads, trying to figure out how this fully patented American design ended up first with Chinese D-bots, and now with the new Roborocks. The rollers spin in opposite directions, efficiently brushing out debris from thick carpets. And they don't even need hurricane-level suction to do it. For instance, the Roomba Y7 cleaned well even with its modest 1,800 pascals of suction. Let's remember this important detail. The working unit is mounted on 2 suspensions, allowing it to adjust to the floor's surface. The frame is simple but features wave breakers to help with cleaning thick carpets. The rollers are standard-sized, about 6.5 inches, but the design has changed. They've become more resilient, and the ends are detachable for easier maintenance. Another interesting point, the side brush. Previously, Roborock used a 5-prong rubber brush that was practically indestructible and combed through thick carpets effectively. Now it's been replaced with a standard 3-prong brush with nylon bristles. It wears out much faster, which means higher sales of consumables. Other than that, everything remains traditional. All-terrain wheels, a swivel roller, charging contacts, 6 drop sensors, and a carpet detection sensor, the same as on the S7. At the back, there's the familiar mop with a vibrating segment. It performs 3,000 movements per minute, scrubbing away stubborn dirt. The mop also lifts 0.2 inches when it rolls onto carpets. The lift mechanism, to be honest, is not the biggest. The Hobot Legi D8 had 0.3 inches, and the new D-Bot X2 Omni boasts 0.6 inches. So, complete carpet avoidance isn't possible, but at least movement becomes easier. Now, a few words about the docking station. Assembly is straightforward, just screw one part to the other. A screwdriver is included. The dimensions when fully assembled are displayed on the screen. They are pretty standard, but you might want to think about its placement in advance. The ramp design is the same as before. Ribbed tracks with a parking recess. Small wheels ensure the robot doesn't get stuck. Brushes sweep dust off the robot's contact pads, and beneath the IR sensor window you'll find the charging contacts. The dust disposal happens through a funnel, which aligns perfectly with the docking port. The main difference compared to the previous flagship is the compartment for the dust bag. Apparently, the manufacturer wasn't impressed with the bagless design. I think you can guess why. You lift the lid, remove the dust bag, and install a new one. And that's it. Allergy sufferers, pet owners, and perfectionists can hit the like button and subscribe. The bag is standard at 0.66 gallons, but it's well made. The bag holder also feels solid and, for some reason, brings to mind Louis XVI. The dust compartment itself is typical, with ribbed reinforcements and a pre-motor filter in the form of a mesh. On the left side of the station there are exhaust vents, and on the right there's a port for the power cord. At the back there are pins where you can wrap up any excess cord. That's all for the station. Overall, Roborock is still Roborock. There's absolutely no complaint about the build quality. The materials and the fit of the parts are top-notch. The working module looks promising, the side brush and navigation have been simplified, but maybe the vacuum will still perform incredibly well in tests. Final verdict on design: sleek and modern. For control, you can easily use either the My Home app or Roborock's own dedicated app. I went with a Roborock one. Setup is simple. Scan the QR code, press the buttons, enter the Wi-Fi credentials, everything is standard. After mapping the area, you get access to a wide range of cleaning settings, including Room Editor with special configurations for each space. You can set up furniture layouts, define different zones, and even mark restricted areas for both dry and wet cleaning. Scheduling by days of the week is also available, along with many other options. I won't list everything, you can pause the video and read it on the screen. But some features deserve special attention. One of them is the floor pattern mode, which makes the robot clean along the lines of laminate planks for maximum efficiency. Then there's the threshold mode. Many of you are probably familiar with the problem of the vacuum struggling to enter the bathroom. This feature is supposed to solve that issue. There's also route selection, with two modes: standard and fast cleaning, where it ignores room borders and just sweeps from edge to finish as quickly as possible. And in mopping mode, you get two extra patterns. The first one is intensive zigzag, which makes the robot clean densely packed lines, and the second is intensive plus, which slows down its speed for deeper cleaning. The carpet area refinement feature is also quite handy. Usually carpets are displayed as rough patches, but with this tool, you can fine-tune their edges in the app. The benefit is that carpets get their own specialized cleaning algorithms. Mop lifting allows the robot to clean the entire apartment in one go. As for carpet avoidance, well, they can stay dusty. There's also a vibration feature. The robot vibrates its dirty mop over the carpet to shake out any trapped dirt, followed by deep carpet cleaning. After it finishes vacuuming and mopping the whole house, it returns to the carpets and does a thorough clean. The only downside is that you can't remotely connect to the front camera and drive it around the house like with the S7 Max Vi, because the structured light camera doesn't allow for that. Did this affect navigation? Let's find out. I laid out 9 objects on the floor that the robot typically encounters in real-world scenarios. During its first encounter, the Roborock S8 gleefully pushed a tiny piece of poop around the floor. The rest of the objects it successfully navigated around, although not with the differentiated approach seen in the S7. The robot carefully maneuvered around obstacles even in complete darkness. The old Roomba would be jealous. On its second pass, the S8 finally showcased the flagship-level navigation Roborock is known for. It's still not quite on the level of the S7 Max Vi, and maybe you should keep a couple of nitroglycerin pills handy just in case. But still, it's one of the best on the market. Its spatial awareness is spot on. The vacuum glides parallel to the walls, guided by its time-of-flight sensor. It doesn't go under curtains, although for some people, that might be a drawback. It carefully maneuvered around the drying rack and even picked up dust between its legs. Black carpets? No problem. It navigates them easily from any direction. It also sweeps around boxes and furniture legs without issue. The surface sensors are responsive. It doesn't fall off tables and it won't tumble downstairs. Its clearance is impressive too. It handles 0.8 inches, even with the mop attached. It either ramps up speed to get over it, or pulls itself up with one wheel, then the other until it's fully across. The rooms are cleaned in the set sequence, respecting the marked boundaries. On maximum suction power, the battery lasted 90 minutes and covered around 960 square feet. When the charge dropped to 20%, it returned to the dock, charged up to 80%, and then resumed cleaning. Now we're getting closer to the most interesting part, the power test. In each mode, the vacuum is about 2 decibels quieter than the previous flagship, but that doesn't mean much. It could just have better soundproofing. To summarize, the 7 Series vacuum, with a suction power of 2,500 to 5,000 pascals, thoroughly cleaned gaps up to 0.2 inches, and sometimes even 0.4 inches. Roborock S8 is advertised with 6,000 PA of suction power, with a tiny asterisk that means practically nothing. So we can assume the new flagship would clear the whole stand. During testing, I gave the robot 3 times more time than usual. It swept the stand in zigzags back and forth along the walls, but in the end, it only managed to pull debris from about 0.08 inches and only in certain spots. Now it's clear what that little asterisk and its cryptic explanation meant. The website says, "We tested everything to a standard that isn't publicly available and, by the way, has no valid status." But as I mentioned earlier, even with a weak motor, dual rollers are great at picking up debris. So does it work with the Roborock? On laminate flooring, the vacuum cleaned up in 2 cross zigzag passes, handling the task with 96% efficiency. Some dust remained along the edges and in the middle of the stand. The 3-prong side brush sweeps more gently than the 5-prong one. It doesn't scatter debris outside the path, but its productivity is slightly lower. The S7 Max V cleared everything on the first pass. However, the new brush does pick up sand better. This time, the edges were much cleaner, and the center area was almost spotless. The stiff rollers do a great job. On a thin carpet, the Roborock S8 made 4 cross zigzag passes. Some debris remained along the edges, in corners, and across the surface. Given the amount of time spent, the result could have been better, only 90%. On a medium pile carpet, the vacuum also took its time. The surface was cleaned well, but some dirt remained deeper in the fibers. The suction power just wasn't enough. Overall, the cleaning results look decent. High quality, though not quite top-notch. But you need to consider the number of passes and the time spent. Normally, robots only make 2 passes during testing. On the plus side, maintenance is pretty easy. The rollers stayed clean and hair only wrapped around the ends, which are easy to remove. Now let's see how it handles mopping. The Vibromop hasn't changed compared to the previous version and performs similarly. Coffee stains were removed in 2 passes and the center of the stand was left spotless. But I launched the robot again to improve the results along the edge. Despite its best efforts, there were still 3.5 inches of uncleaned space near the baseboard. This is typical for most robots. The Vibromop on the S8 even manages to clean dried juice. In Thorough Plus mode with a pre-soaked cloth, the robot handled it perfectly on the first pass. On the second pass, it finished the edges. The cloth presses tightly against the floor, leaving no streaks. Here's what it looks like after cleaning up the juice. As you can see, it's stained with the color of the liquid it cleaned, but it's still relatively clean. You'll understand what I mean in just a moment. In the next test, the robot managed to scrape off clumps of dirt in the first pass, but smeared it a bit across the stand. Dirty microfiber looks exactly like this. I rinsed it out and started the cleaning again. On the second pass, the S8 picked up most of the dirt, but some streaks remained. You can even see it in the slightly blurry areas. It took a third run to achieve an acceptable result. And now for the toughest test, ketchup. The robot did manage to handle it, but only with methodical starts and mid-session rinses of the cloth. After 3 passes, the cloth turned completely red. I rinsed it out and launched it again. After 6 full runs, the S8 cleaned the stand thoroughly. Given its identical construction and margin for error, wet cleaning is implemented exactly the same as in the Roborock S7 Max V. I also measured the cleaning speed across different modes and checked water consumption. In Thorough Plus, moves slowly but cleans thoroughly. The tank lasted for around 970 square feet. Now it's time to test the self-cleaning station. For that, I've got a few containers filled with different types of debris. Here's what the dustbin looks like after a regular cleaning session. Mostly pet hair and human hair, some sand, and cat litter. The noise from the station reaches 80 decibels, like most analogs. In the end, the container was completely cleared. A full 3.5 ounces of seeds filled the dustbin to the top, but the station was hungry enough to leave only 2 seeds behind, and that was only because the filter frame held them back. The same went for flakes, no surprises. The container looked brand new. Sand was no issue either. A full 3.5 ounces went straight to the station without any leftovers. But when it came to a mixture of rice and peas, things got more complicated. The station had to work harder to handle it, humming loudly for 30 seconds. But it only managed to suck up half of it. I even tried 3 times, cleaned the bag, and let the station rest for a day to recover. Hit that like button if you also think your tech performs better after a little break. But the rest didn't help. It consistently only handled 50% of the load. With the add-on module, the results were even worse, just 43% on the first try, and even less on the second. It's hard to pinpoint the exact issue. The power is definitely there for sand, so it seems the problem is with large debris passing through the dual rollers. With that, the testing is complete. Time to sum up the results. The Roborock S8 Plus impressed with its build quality and dual roller design. Even with lower suction power, it handles most types of debris, including sand, quite well. The app has a ton of features, including carpet detection and threshold crossing, but there's no camera connection or remote driving like with the S7 Max V. Navigation isn't as refined as its predecessor, but it still does its job well. The robot navigates around objects effortlessly, even in complete darkness. During mopping, the S8 scrubs the center of the stand clean, removing dirt and even dried ketchup. It's definitely useful in the kitchen. The self-emptying station works better than the one on the S7, but it still struggles with larger debris. For example, if a cat knocks over its litter box, you might have issues. It's mainly designed for hard floors. Carpets are only surface clean. Pets are welcome. No need to go out of your way to tidy up the house. No matter how much Roborock may have downgraded, they haven't completely dropped the ball. Despite some shortcomings, the Roborock S8 is still worth considering for purchase.